Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, so that means it's Terry Michler and Kevin Whalen on the United States National High School Champions League starting 11 or thereabouts. Well, Terry, it's coming to that time. It's the end of one thing and the start of another. So that's your intro, is that, and wherever you go, you know you got to bring that select ball around, or you got a square ball, man. You got to bring the round ball with a select ball. And they still haven't hit me at Athletic Republic. I don't know. The challenge was too much for them to help me with the body.
I guess they're spending extra time trying to come up with a game plan. I mean, you present an obstacle that maybe a problem they haven't encountered so far. They're still trying to come up with the proper solution for you.
There it is. So, okay. All right, then. All right. But they're the place. If anybody's going to do it, they're going to do it. Okay. Go at it.
All right, Kevin. Today starts, actually, today's the first day of the World Cup for the U.S. as we open up tonight, 8 o'clock against Paraguay. So I'm going to focus primarily today on World Cup and a couple of different aspects of it. But prior to getting into that, I want to spend a few minutes singing the praises of one of our local young players, Maddie DiMaria, who finished her high school season this year with her third state championship, second Champions League championship, Gatorade Player of the Year, 70 goals, approximately around 70 goals this year alone, and about half as many assists. We have been blessed to have such a phenomenal young player in our ranks. And people need to realize that in today's world of youth soccer, the academy situation has kind of been front and center and taken over everybody's attention. And Maddie is clearly an academy level player if there ever was one. She would be at the top of the list of academy players, but she chose to stay and play high school. And boy, do we owe her some thanks. I mean, we could, any schedules are posted in the paper and whatnot. You know exactly when, where, and what time the games will be played. So you can go out and watch the game and watch her anytime she was scheduled to play. You didn't have to try to figure out where, when, and how. You didn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to be able to see a game. It was there for public observation. And you know what, Maddie, I saw her a handful of times. She never disappointed. And Maddie was the classic player that she didn't need a lot of touches on the ball to be effective. She was so efficient that whatever touches she had, she maximized the results. So if she had 5 touches, she probably had 3 or 4 points out of that for sure. Scoring or setting up a teammate to score. And Maddie seemed to be just as happy when teammates scored as when she scored. That's a real credit to her. I've been in the coaching business for quite a while, a lot of years. A lot of players that I coached on my teams and that I coached against on other teams. So I've had my fair share of seeing good players, very good players, outstanding players, and over the course of time, a few what I would say special players. Special players are those that have the abilities and the qualities to go on beyond what most everybody else can and maybe even think of. Maddie was definitely be a special player. As I said a minute ago, Maddie could have been an academy player without any doubt and been at the top list of the academy players. But she chose to stay and play high school with her friends. That's any young player should look at that and consider that as, well, maybe I need to consider that. Maybe that's what I need to do as well. So thanks for Maddie for doing that. As we start the World Cup, I can't hardly think that there won't be a time in the near future that we're going to be watching Maddie play a World Cup game for the U.S. She is definitely that type of a player. Has that ability, and I think her ceiling, once she gets into an environment where every day she's really tested and challenged to continue to improve her game, that no telling what her ceiling is going to be. I like the approach the Dutch use. I'm a big advocate of Dutch soccer, and their premise over there is we always want to put the best with the best and against the best to bring out the best. And that speaks volumes. There's a whole lot of truth to be said in that statement. And every day you have to be on your game when you're playing with and against the best. And I think when Maddie gets into that next level, which she will now, we're going to see great rise in her form. She's got a great foundation. Got that from her family. Gave her that. I mean, she's got two parents that were both excellent soccer players. Got siblings, brothers and sisters that are high-level players. So I guess the reality is she probably didn't really have a choice. It was there for her. It was all laid out for her. She was just supposed to fall in line with the rest of them, put in the time without even giving it a second thought. Just kind of a family activity. Let's go play soccer. Let's get good. Let's work hard at it. Let's get good at it. I was able to coach Jeff at CBC, and I can tell you for a fact that that was what he was all about. Jeff was always the player that was always looking to get better, never satisfied where he was, always looking to get better. So I see so much of Maddie in that. And, the other thing about Maddie that's impressive is that every game she played, everybody knew she was the one to stop. People came to the games to watch her play as spectators, and opposing coaches knew that we got to come up with some kind of a game plan that's going to limit Maddie's ability to take over the game. Saying that she scored nearly 70 goals this year, I'd say that most of the plans were well thought out, but at the end of the day, Maddie wins. She wins. Yeah.
Hey, it's a Yiddish proverb of having no choice is a choice too. So she was born Maddie DiMaria with a soccer ball in the crib, and she really mastered the genius of the ball, being a ball player.
A couple things about Maddie. One is that as good as she was that unselfish as well, and that much of a team player. She was just as excited for the ones that just scored their first goal in the high school career as the ones that scored their umpteenth goal. So she was always about what can she do to honor the rest of her teammates. But I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that she was a marked player every time, and she took a lot of physical abuse. And sometimes I think the referees just kind of let it go because, well, that's Maddie, and blah blah blah, and let it go. But I never at any time saw her get upset, retaliate, complain. She always had the same demeanor. Let's get up and get ready for the next play. That was always the way she operated. Credit to her for that. As great a player as she was, and the personality that she has, her total persona is every bit the same. She's a great person that you can depend on and rely on and count on, and I don't see that changing in the future. So kudos to her, kudos to her family, and first of all, thanks for being in a position where you made yourself available for all of us to see. Secondly, thanks for what you did for the high school game, and lastly, congratulations and best of luck in the future.
Hey, let me jump in, Terry.
Sure. Jump in.
About the deal was, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it happens, you got to say, wow, man. Is that, people, they go, their time is spent and they got to go. Well, some people, they give you a freezer full of fish or something, and keep you around for a while. Where Maddie DiMaria left how to fish to her classmates and teammates at Koryezu Academy. And just unbelievable that all you have to really do from knee high to senior league is to say, look, let's look at this and let's try to keep practicing until I can't get it wrong. At P.S. in closing for the rest of the day, this is the last you'll hear from me, Terry.
Okay.
Is that story that we sat next to each other at the high school Champions League final out at Maryville against Koryezu Academy in Fort Zumwalt South, which they were both state champions, different classes. Koryezu, the Chargers, won in the fourth class 4, and the Bulldogs of Fort Zumwalt South won in the 3. So that's really something. But anyway, this gal, she's waiting. And Maddie's waiting for the ball from her goalkeeper, who hits it pretty high, but it's handsome, but it's coming down like a rock. And Maddie, the Chargers, got the Bulldog focused in between her shoulders, behind her, going to, it's not going to look pretty. Well, she was able to take a form of a ballerina. And Terry, you know that I know ballets. I've worked a lot of ballets. And that form that she was in, total focus and perfect position, body shape, that she gets the ball comes down, she's relaxed, and you could hear and see the indenture off her boot from her toe, between her toe and her instep. And then the ball popped and laid in front of her, waiting for instructions from Maddie DiMaria. It was just most magnificent, and I told you about it, and you seen it, and you said, Matt, without missing a beat, do you realize how many hours and hours of thoughtful training went into making this moment special? And yeah, we were there, Coach. We were there, Terry. We seen it, man. And thank you, Maddie. Thank you.
You do that.
P.S. in closing is that when I mentioned to her, "Hey, well certified," because I interviewed her grin from ear to ear, man. I mean, gosh, it's life. It gave away so many feelings that she enjoyed her time at Whale Certified.
Sometimes we forget she's just a kid too,
Yeah, 17. Yeah.
Getting back to the closing statement you made about her receiving that ball and practicing. You practice that much, not so that you don't make a mistake, but you practice so much that you're never going to make a mistake. That's why you practice, not so that you don't make one. It's guarantee that you'll never make one because you practice so much. Take the mistake right out of the equation. All right, let's move on with point number 2. Point number 2 is this World Cup that we're just getting underway with. 48 teams are making this cup this year for the first time ever. Gone from 32 to 48. That means that there's an extra game for everybody, extra round to play. And how does 48 teams affect the tournament? Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? 3 different locations are hosting. Mexico's hosting for their third time. U.S. is hosting for the second time. And Canada is hosting for the first time. There are 8 countries that have won the World Cup over all the years the World Cup has existed. First World Cup was in 1930. There were a couple of years in the early years where the cup was suspended because of war. Otherwise, it was a regular every 4-year event. 8 teams have won. 7 of the 8 teams are currently in the tournament this year. The 3 South American teams, Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. England makes up the 4th team. And then from Europe, you have Spain, France, and Germany. And the odd team out that didn't make it back was Italy. Brazil had won 5 World Cups previously. Italy and Germany have won 4. Italy, like I said, Italy's missed the last 3 World Cups, which is amazing. Okay, so that's what we got going on right now in the World Cup. 48 teams playing it. And as I look at the World Cup, I look at 3 different groups of quality of. I have the first group, which I call contenders, teams that can legitimately win the championship, teams that have enough talent, enough quality, enough experience, enough players that have been in high-level, high-pressure situations before, and that have a chance to get it done. The other part 2, would be the bottom of the tournament, bottom group, those that are first time to the tournament, small countries that, because of the way this tournament was formed, get a chance to get in. And I think most of those are in it for the experience. Hopefully can improve themselves and maybe make their way back into the next tournament in 4 years and be more competitive. And then the third group is the middle group, which has the most teams in it. And all of those teams, I think, almost from top to bottom, not much to distinguish one from the other. They're all pretty evenly matched. All of them have something different that makes them a little bit unique. But there isn't anybody in that group that's really would push to go either way, either go up to the first level of contenders or down to the bottom level of those that are just coming for a cup of coffee. So the competition in that group is going to really be strict. And I call that the surprise group, because who in that group can surprise somebody in the first group and extend their play a little bit longer than might be expected. So I got a contender group, a surprise group, and then I'll call the third group the pretenders. They're just kind of there for the ride. Point number 3, I listened to Jurgen Klinsmann recently. Jurgen's a German American, I guess you could say now, because German by nature and an American by the last bunch of years he's lived here. But Jurgen was a 3-time World Cup player for Germany and was a 2-time coach in the World Cup, once with Germany, once with the U.S. So he's got 5 World Cups under his belt. That's a lot of experience. When he talks, you listen, because he's been there and he's done it, and he's done it with different hats on, so to speak, as a player and as a coach. And the thing that he said that most impressed me was that in order to win a World Cup, you have to suffer. And I don't know that I've heard that. I know I haven't heard that from anywhere else. So that was pretty interesting. So as he said it and kind of developed it, I listened more and more to it and kind of started to buy into it. And what's the suffering? Well, first of all, you got 39 games to play. 39 days to play the tournament. It's a long time to be away from home and family. So that's a hardship right there. Games, the more you keep winning, the more you keep playing. That's good. But you never ever really get a chance to enjoy the games you won, because you've got another game coming up right away. And if you're not ready for that game, it's going to get past you, and you're going to regret that. So, and then the injuries. Do you have your full team the whole time? If not, how do you manage that? Being in a different environment than you're used to. So all those things constitute a little bit of suffering. Along the same lines, I recently saw a little clip from Thomas Tuchel, who's the current coach of the English national team, coach of England. And last summer, to get his team starting to think about what they needed to do in terms of suffering, he took a training session with them and took the players and got a big tent and got exercise bikes for everybody. And they went in the tent with the bike, and he had the temperature in the tent up to 95 degrees. And the players were on the bikes for 45 minutes at a high intensity level of activity under 95 degree temperature to get them used to it. Because Tuchel said, I think the theme of the 2026 World Cup is going to be all about suffering. So I got to get my guys used to the idea of suffering. That was pretty good as well. Next point on Klinsmann, he was asked, what does it take with your experience of being in 5 cups and won a couple? What's it take to win? And he said, the teams that win will probably have the best leadership and the best chemistry, because that is really the intangible that makes the biggest difference. And he says the more leaders you can have within your team, probably the better chance you'll have to go further. So leadership and chemistry, he says, are the intangibles. Not always the greatest players, but it's how well everybody comes together and gets along. And it's a we, not a me kind of a situation with soccer as a team game. It's always we, not me. My fourth point, I have what I say are 5 points to win. What does it take to win? I say there are 5 things that I consider characteristics and qualities needed to win. One is talent. First and foremost is talent. And talent is mainly the capacity of all of your attributes and qualities. What are you all about? What can you do at your best? And what can you do when it matters the most? That's the starting point, talent. Secondly is effort. And think about effort. Effort is not really a skill. You don't practice effort. You just do effort. Effort is a choice. And you choose to or not to. Effort, a little extra effort, no effort, lack of effort, right? Teams that seem to be a little bit less talented realize that they need to get by with a little more effort. Teams that are less talented and play with less effort don't have much chance. So effort, all things being equal, effort can make a difference. But talent with effort should always be the best ingredient. Talent with effort. The third point is chemistry. I talked about that a minute ago with Klinsmann, how chemistry makes a difference. Chemistry, you want to know what chemistry is like from a negative point of view. Think about the one bad apple routine. How does one bad apple spoil the bunch? You put a bad apple in with a bowl of other apples, you're going to have a whole bowl of spoiled apples after a period of time. So you got to kind of weed out the one that don't work out so well. And in the World Cup this year, the rosters, every team can take 26 players on their roster. That's including 3 goalkeepers and 23 field players. It's not probably everybody in the roster isn't going to play. Particularly teams that don't go all the way through to the end. So what do you do with the ones that aren't playing? How do you keep them from becoming disruptive? How do you keep them from being a bad apple? Well, you got to pick good people first, right? So a lot of the team selection doesn't always come down to the best players, but it comes down to the players that best fit the coach's plan. And how about those players that probably aren't going to play? They got to be the best teammates. They got to work hard. They got to keep everybody on their toes. They got to be ready if they get a chance, but they also can't take anything away. So that's a critical point there about the chemistry. You can't have somebody that's taking anything away. Everybody has to add something in some way. Fourth point is coaching. And coaching can make, all things being equal, coaching can make the difference. Because what coaching does is coaching will give you a direction, an action plan based on what the coach observes. And the coach is going to should be a supporting person. And the best coaches, I think, sometimes manage to stay out of the way of the players. Let the players play the game. Be there when you need to be. Be there when they need you to be there. But don't be there and take anything away from what they're doing. If you can get the players to be at their best, get them to be relaxed and prepared and organized, you've done your job. And then after that, it's just a matter for them to go and play. The final task of the coach is to analyze the game, identify the problem, and come up with a solution. That's when the coach is doing the best good. The last point, the fifth point, is luck. Luck. You got to be a little bit lucky. Like it or not, you got to be a little bit lucky. I watched the NBA game the other night when the New York Knicks came from 29 points down to beat the San Antonio Spurs by a point at the buzzer of the game, basically. And the Knicks coach was interviewed after the game, and luck was brought up. And he said, there's two kinds of luck the way I see it. And I see it the same way. He said, number one, there's luck. Things just happen for whatever reason. And not much, you don't have much control over it. You just are lucky if it works for you, unlucky if it doesn't. But he said the other point that I like is that you can create a little bit of your own luck by how you work. And I've always said the harder you work, the luckier you might get. So that's the fifth point of my thing. So I got talent, effort, chemistry, coaching, and luck. Those are my five ingredients for success. My fifth point, the last point, is playing at home for the U.S. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Cruyff always said, for every disadvantage, there's an advantage. I wonder if he flipped it around and ever said, for every advantage, there's a disadvantage. How can playing at home in front of a home crowd be a disadvantage? Well, how about pressure? How about expectation? How about the younger players without a lot of high-level experience? How are they going to handle that? Your emotions are going to be running rampant. Do you have control of your emotions? Can you manage the situation? Sure, it's great to have a stadium full of screaming people supporting you, but can you handle that? So we'll find out as the U.S. goes through these games, and they've got a tough way to go because their group is made up of Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey, and all three of those, along with the U.S., are pretty much bunched about the same level in terms of the ranking of the teams. There's not much to separate them. They all have a different style. They all have a different characteristic about them. So it's really going to be which team makes the most of the situation and finds a solution to the problems that they're faced with during the game. So I don't think it's a walkover by any means. Team that gets out will have a little bit better draw after that. The second and third place teams that get out of our group are going to have a little bit tougher way to go. So the challenge is going to be who's going to finish first, and can we take advantage of our advantage when having the home support? But with the home support though comes pressure, and pressure is the expectation that they expect that we're going to do well and we're going to win. You don't want to get the home support working against you. If you're the visiting team, you have to play with a deaf ear to all that, tune it out, and come up with a way to keep the home team quiet. That's what you have to do. All right, Kevin, one last comment and we'll wrap it up. I want to extend my personal thanks and congratulations to the DiMaria family again for what Maddie has brought to our city. I want to tell a quick story about Jeff real quick because I think this also says a little bit about Maddie and her character. When Jeff played for me as a senior, he got an injury to his right quad, and he's a right-footed player. So the injury was such that it would probably put most players out for a while. So they got rehabbed and ready to go back. But Jeff took a different approach. He said, I'll just play left-footed. And as much as he could tolerate the pain, he would play and then just use his left foot. When his right leg got healed up and he was ready to go back as a two-legged player, he was so used to the left foot that I don't think he really even made much of an attempt to play right-footed. So I think that's a good example of working through a problem, coming up with a solution, and at the end of the day, becoming a better all-around player because of it. But it also shows the intestinal fortitude of what goes into the character of the person. So that's my story. Kevin, I'm done.
Man, I'm telling you, baby. I'm telling you. Ladies and gentlemen, we just heard it. Now let's put it down. Get your notes and get on that tube and watch the World Cup with your family and friends. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have just put in the can the United States Session 30 of the United States National High School Champions League starting 11 or thereabouts. Thanks, Terry.
All right, Kevin. Thank you. Appreciate it.